bunch of families in the United States where that is not even a possibility for them. And it's not because the children and the grandchildren and the great grandchildren are so financially savvy. It's because trust and instructions were set up, and what the families are living off of, what they are thriving off of, what they are investing off of, is the interest from the money that has compounded over these generations. So they can't run out of money. You can't run out of money when you are not allowed to touch the principal. You can't run out of money when you are eating fruit off of a tree, but you are not allowed to touch the tree. And so what we're talking about is creating situations where you are not allowed to touch the tree, to build a to build a financial nest egg, a trust for your family, where people don't have the option to mess things up.
Okay.
And understand something. This is not about leaving money to people and just having them squander it and run around and buy sports cars and nice houses and stuff like that. This is not what that's about.
Oh, so it's not about being a baller, shot caller, all that. No,
what it's about is, think about it like this. Okay, if you had $1 million a year that came in, that was coming from your great grandfather's trust,
right,
and it's going to come to you every year on January 1st, no matter what you do, right. But now, every time you hear about a good opportunity, when you're in the circle of people who are talking about stocks and investments, and they say, hey, there's this little company that's coming up that's making microchips called NVIDIA. And, I think I'm going to put some money in that because they're making these chips that everybody's going to have. You say to yourself, oh, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. You do your research. I'm going to go ahead and throw $10,000, $20,000 in that.
Right.
Why? Because you have the money to take advantage of opportunities.
Right.
Every time you hear about a foreclosure or someone liquidating some property,
you can go buy it.
You can look at it, get it appraised, and say to yourself, hey, you know what? I could buy that for pennies on the dollar. I could turn this there's this $1 million property somebody's losing, and I could buy for $300,000. Hey, I got $300,000, and you could go ahead and do that. And so it's very important that we set these next generations up to be able to participate in opportunity, because that's something that right now most of our families don't have, but it's easily acquirable.
So let's do this. I got to go to a quick commercial, and then our special guest has a question for
Absolutely.
you. Okay.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Palmer is in the building, and we are just grateful. With a hand clap. Somebody, come on, man. All right. Yeah. Mary Palmer is in the building, and listen. We are just grateful that you can continue to be the sponsor of the show and bringing, guests like this to our audience, because guests like Mark Fuller is empowering people, and One Stop Training Center is sponsoring that. And when you invest in something, you're part of that something. And so we're grateful for what you've invested in. I'm grateful for, as well as my friend, as my sister, as your big sister. She fuss at me too. All of that. So, and Mark Mark did a little commercial. Wow.
But I do have a question.
For Mark.
Yes, for Mr. Mark. You speak of in the box. Okay, what if someone is out the box that do not have the funds and that wants to be able to invest or build up their financial? What would you suggest to them?
So the first thing when you talk about finances, first thing I tell everybody is this: you have to make up your mind what you ultimately want your life to be and what you want your contribution in life to be, right? Because there's nothing more powerful than a made up mind, right? Now, if you need transportation and you need and that requires you to have a car, people figure it out, right? You got to start where you are. there are so many people, and let me give you an example. Most people have much more than they think that they do, right? So if I didn't have a lot of cash reserves and things like that to be able to start to set up my finances, what am I going to do? I'm going to look at all of my areas of finance. So I'm going to look at what type of cash do I have? Maybe I don't have a lot of cash. What type of insurance do I have? Right? Because maybe the way that I set up my family is through my life insurance, so that when I expire, my part of my life insurance goes into a trust that funds what will ultimately fund my family, right?
Okay.
So I might be spending $100 a month for a $500,000 life insurance policy, and I may take part of that and have it earmarked to go into a trust that would ultimately accomplish the same thing, and that can compound into hundreds of thousands and millions and billions of dollars as well, right? The other thing is understanding that also real estate, it grows over time. So I've seen a lot of people who sit on, they have a house that they've been paying down over the years. There's all this dormant equity sitting in houses that people don't realize. Passing away and leaving a house to somebody, that's nice, but taking the equity out, a little bit of it while you're alive, putting in an account that's going to compound, that's going to translate to real capital. Because what I was saying at the beginning of this was, I don't know what 20, 25, 21, 25, 100 years from now, I don't know what that's going to look like. I won't be here, right? And I wasn't alive in 1925, 100 years ago. But one thing I'm sure of, 1925, 2025, 2125, is you're going to need some money, right? You're going to need resources. And until we really focus on answering the question of, are we setting things up so there are really going to be unlimited resources for those generations, we really are kind of, I call it a pie in the sky thing, where we are building things that we hope who we leave it to will be able to take care of it. And what we've seen traditionally is they most don't. You may have sharp kids, right? That are good, but that doesn't guarantee you sharp grandkids, and from a financial standpoint, or sharp great grandkids. But if I've left you an account that continues to grow and you're getting the interest off of that account, how do you mess that up? You can't, because you can't touch it. And so we have to start having different conversations, because what has constituted financial planning, what has constituted financial literacy over all of these years is really not financial literate. And what it does is it keeps everybody, even those who are classified as quote unquote rich. Because you know what most black people don't know? They don't know that 1 in 36 black people is a millionaire, right? We think of ourselves as impoverished, right?
Mm-hmm. Come on.
But 1 in every 36 black people in this country is a millionaire.
Come on.
Right? Now, does that mean, and business people know this better than anything, being a millionaire doesn't mean a lot of times that you got $1 million.
Yeah, a whole bunch of money. That's right. Right. That's right.
It might be equity. It might be money in a retirement account. It might be what the value of your interest in a business is and what have you. But 1 in 36 people is a millionaire. Now the question is, after all the work and after all the equity and after all the investing, is the thing that you really wanted to ultimately happen going to happen? And what's the thing that most of us who are out here working and building businesses, what do we really want to happen? We want everybody after us to be straight.
Amen.
Right? I used as a definition of wealth with all of my clients for the last 20 years. Wealth is having an inexhaustible source of income that meets all of your needs, most of your wants, and allows you to leave an inexhaustible source of income to future generations.
Okay, go ahead. That's a good setup. So you're married. You unleash the beast. Okay, he got all this information in him, and he'll pour all this out. Okay, all I want to do is, this is still applicable to the book. It's still applicable to that. So I just want to make sure, because we got about 4 minutes, and we need to tell people how to get the book, why they need to get the book, all of that, and to get busy. You got 4 minutes, sir.
Sure, no problem. No, listen, $1 Billion Family Trust. You can get this book. It's on Amazon. If you'd like a signed copy, just send me a you can cash app me at $MOWLLC, and you can email me your address at managerofwealth.LLC.com. I'm sorry, it's Mark at managerofwealth.LLC.com.
Okay.
You can email me there. Send me your address, and I'll send you a signed copy and what have you. What I want everybody to understand, if you get nothing else from this, is that we have to first begin to think a different way. What we are doing right now is not working, because in the end, no matter how successful, like, so for instance, we got 12 Black billionaires and we can name them, right? You can't name the number of white billionaires in this country, right? But people think that there's some exclusive club or thing that you can do. And I'm not worried about people becoming billionaires. I'm worried about families building billion-dollar fortunes. And it's available.
Come on, man.
From generation to generation to generation. It is not difficult. Okay. It is simply, and we have all of these institutions, churches, sororities, fraternities, right, that are finding it hard in 2025 to sustain themselves, to pay the taxes on their buildings, to keep revenue coming in. If we're going to have institutions in 21-25, it's going to be because we just put a little bit of capital aside. We put $5,000 over here in the account and earmarked it so that it would compound. So when all the members do that, that institution that they claim they love so much is going to have tens of billions of dollars pouring in every year in an inexhaustible account that will allow them to meet all of their needs. This is not difficult. The reason that this type of information really hasn't come to us is because it wasn't meant to come to us. Okay. It was meant to look like this hocus pocus, this thing that was just so difficult to do, and these people are so much better than us, and they're from these rich families. This doesn't have anything to do with being rich. Wow. This has to do with just understanding how money actually works, because you can't stop this from happening.
That might be the next book, How Money Works for you. But okay, go ahead.
And you can't stop this. This is the funny part. The S&P 500 is, the 500 richest companies on the stock exchange, right? So by putting a little bit of your capital with those companies, you pick up the benefits of having 31 million employees work for you every day. See, what people don't understand is that these wealthy families who understand the science that we're talking about in this book, the whole world is working for them. Okay. And everybody that's invested, the whole world's working for them. They're just not working long enough. Right? Wow. So I'll put the world to work for my family for the next 100 years, because my family worked for this country for free for 400.
Come on. All right. That's a whole other show right there. Right.
But in 100, I get in less than 100, I can get everybody out. And if I can figure out how to guarantee that I can get everybody out in 100, I probably, from everything that I'm doing, learn to do it in 50. Come on. Right? It's called the law of unintended consequences. There are things in this book, there are ideas in this book that people never thought that anybody would say. I have a library full of books on finance. I've been studying since I was in college, when I went to college in 1989. And guess what? Not one book that I have on finance has this information in it. Nobody ever told me if you set this money over here, that the interest off of that money would feed everybody in your family forever and keep compounding.
That's good. Wow.
right? And that's
Speechless, right?
Yeah.
Speechless, right?
not right.
Yeah.
And you can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to stop me, you got to destroy yourself.
All right. So I told you this last show, but you're gonna have to come back. I got Mary Palmer next week. You're gonna have to come back, Mark, because this is revelatory information and people aren't getting it. Okay. And so we gotta go a little bit more. All right. And we'll bring you back on this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Mark Fuller. Look, this is he don't like the name financial guru, so I'm not gonna say that, but this is my financial guy who comes on here and teaches and ministers and speaks to people and speaks to your lives. So I want you again, Mark Fuller, thank you again. Mary Palmer, we'll see you next week. Hallelujah.
So Mike, thanks again for having me here. I am really excited about this mission that we're on to really educate people and bring a different type of financial education and literacy to people.
Baltimore, join us for the third annual.
What we have to do is we've got to educate people to change their minds about what is really possible with their lives. Most people are leaving 99% of the economic value of their life on the table, right? Most people see themselves as their bank account. They see themselves as their investment account. And so if you've only got a couple $100,000, you see yourself as a couple $100,000 guy. You don't know every $5,000 that you could put in a long-term trust is worth $100 million.
Wow.
Right? People don't see themselves as that. And so they don't understand the impact that they can really have. But we've got to show people the impact that they can have because, if you're not old enough, you might look at this administration, as and what's going on in this country and think that this is the worst person and the worst things that have ever happened. You might not remember that, there was a Ronald Reagan, right? There was a George, the father George Bush and the son and and there was Jim Crow and there was redlining and there was all these things.
But we still prosper.
And what's going to come after this is going to be worse. At the end of the day, so 50 years from now, whoever the new person is, then they're going to have their own agenda and everything. The only thing that is going to protect your family from the agendas of the day is having enough resources, enough information, and enough education so that those resources are constantly compounding and scaling. And I want people to understand that you don't have to be the Superman of your family, right? This is not for you to just save your family. It's for you to bring a type of education into your family that allows you to take a small amount of the resources that you earn over your lifetime and leave those for your family and teach the next generation to do the same and the generation after that to do the same. And then it's a very easy lift because you'll look up and 2 generations will pass and there will be hundreds of millions or billions of dollars there for your family in a very, very, very real way.
Amen.